I'm Susan Jackson, and I do like tuna. I'm the president of the International Seafood Sustainability Foundation, which is a foundation, a nonprofit foundation that's a partnership with tuna scientists, tuna processing industry, and World Wildlife Fund and other NGOs. Complicated, fun, challenging, something new every day. There's elements of science, there's elements of transparency and compliance, and then there's elements of advocacy and outreach, and great fish. At the early part of an idea of the food chain, if you will, of our ideas, we're working with scientists. And the scientists are doing the research. And throughout that scientific research process, they are also working collaboratively with fleets on the water knowledge, the practical realities of what can and can't work, the sort of the eyes and ears for the data that the scientists need. So you start to develop those ideas over here with the scientists, and then the scientists working with the fishermen, and then the scientists present the results of their research at science meetings, which can then percolate onto science recommendations to the fisheries managers at the RFMOs, and then ultimately an RFMO management measure and national legislation requiring the implementation of these best practices. So that's sort of the official work stream. But then, of course, just because you've discovered something or just because something's required, you have to teach people about it and explain to them what it is, why it is, how to do it. So another whole element of our work is this capacity building work stream, or part of the dialogue with the skippers that the scientists have is talking to them about these things. And then the capacity building with the national governments or national regulators or enforcement bureaus to understand why something needs to be done, or why the scientists recommended it, or how to implement it, or how to enforce it and monitor that it is actually being done. So you have a theoretical, is probably more theoretical of a word than needed, but you have this sort of academic, and then with a practical reality piece, then you have an implementation piece and an understanding piece, and then you have a monitoring and enforcement piece. ISSF's goal is to go out of business, because we want tuna fisheries to be effectively managed by governments and regional fisheries management organizations. But we're here to help them get to that point, and we'll know that it's time to go out of business when the tuna stocks are healthy, when there are rules and reference points in place for all of them under the management system so that they will stay healthy, when the environmental interaction or ecosystem impact of tuna fishing has been minimized to an appropriate level. Then our work is done.